is Jonathan, aka Blissful Abundance. Welcome to the talk. Welcome to the talk. Today we're sipping on some chai. Grand rising to everybody. Alright, sync up your crystals. Sync up your crystal, guys. Let's drop into the portal real quick. Up on the four corners of the earth, the spirit of the north, the east, the south, and the west, the spirit of the sky, the spirit of the earth, and the spirit of our hearts, to align us in this day with unconditional love, gratitude, and forgiveness. And so it is. Ashe. Hell yeah. How you guys doing today? I'm out here by this beautiful rapid river. Mama water just bringing it in, you know. I was having a very peaceful meditation today, and I felt called to hop on here and talk about empathy, and talk about how much we're really putting ourselves out there in terms of other people's emotions, or lingering emotions in a place where people once were feeling something in that space. And how easy it is for us to take these on without even really thinking about it. It doesn't take much thought. It doesn't take much effort. We are simply just high oscillating beings that have so much space. Like, the practice of meditation and deep breathing is literally just carving out more space within us. And we're the superorganism. We are omni-adaptable. So that means that the space will never end. Like, there's never too much space, right? So we always have some room for other people's shit. And that's not bad, because that's the role of an empath, my friend. That's the role of an empath. Being there for other people's experiences and learning from other people's experiences also, as others can learn from ours, right? The question, though, is, once we have felt into external emotions and traumas and experiences, what happens to them then? Because most often we're seeing empaths integrate them into their own genetic matrix and walking around with them and letting it affect them for longer than just the experience of witnessing that external emotion. It becomes part of them. And I've had this happen to me too. It's a whole bit harder for it to happen to me nowadays because of, I feel like, the length of time I've directed awareness to it. However, it still happens. It just has to take a sharper intention for it to actually stick to me. So I'd like to go over some exercises that I've been employing for the last few years, especially, and some new ones that have come up this year also. I'll start with the one that came up this year. I'm doing a lot of Reiki attunements as I have my master attunement now, and especially getting to level 2, I've really been asking people to start employing this practice, which is ready. We're actually going to do it right now. A little interactive exercise. I'll send some energy through the phone, and I want you to block it. Right? But we're not going to block it by putting up ooh, what the hell? Look what I just pulled out of the ground. This is lit. It's a whole wand. Yo, fuck yeah. All right, I'll work on that later. So I'm going to send some energy And I'm going to tell you what to do. Imagine a bubble around you, like probably arms length away from the body, all the way around. Okay? I like to imagine mine to be gold, but you can imagine yours to be any color you want, a color that makes you feel like you have control. Like, Harold and the Purple Crayon type thing, like a color that makes you feel like you can just flow. And what will happen if you say, okay? Imagine that it's like Jello in there, right? Imagine like it's watery, liquid, but really thick. So anything that'll hit it will move really, really slow. So whatever I send through is not going to have any emotional content. It's going to be empty energy. Just like plain. Whatever you want to explain to that. I'm just not putting anything in it. Feel it like it hits the surface of the water like a bullet, and it gets slowed down, and it never makes it to your body. But you feel the ripples, right? You feel the ripples, and you'd be able to tell where it would have hit your body. But you don't integrate it. You feel it on the outside and then get it away, push it out, right? Cool. So we're gonna do this 3 times. I'll give there a 30-second space in between each one, and you can tell me in the comments or to yourself during the video, quantumly, where in your body it was trying to get to, right? And if you can tell me that correctly, then I'll let you know at the end. And here you go. First one. Give it some time, feel into what just happened. Okay. So that chakra was the heart, and I just like lightly tapped it. If you felt that, give yourself a pat on the back. If you let it in, man, that's okay. It takes practice, whatever. You can rewatch the video and practice with it. Okay. Second chakra I'm gonna tap. Ready? Okay, give you some time to integrate that one. Or not integrate, feel into. Where did I go? Weird. Okay, that was the throat chakra. That one I hit the throat chakra. So, yeah, I'll talk about that after. I'll do one more. One more, okay? 3, 2, 1. Very cool, very cool. Okay. We got like 20 more seconds. Okay, that's not 20 seconds, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Sacral chakra. That was the sacral chakra. Now, it's really about trusting the body and trusting the voice of intuition, and then making what your body is trying to communicate with you and your voice of intuition completely united. Like, no separation anymore. Because the body is working for us. And if the body can give us a cue or a detail or something, and we can hear it once and trust it, that like, whoa, my body's trying to tell me something right now, then we can surpass all that overthinking and we can completely override that false intuition, that voice of knowledge that is trying to corrupt. And ultimately silence the monkey mind and only make room for true, accurate experience and wisdom, correct? So the way I was doing that was I was feeling like a little throb in that chakra, like heart, throat, sacral, whichever one I did, and I just passed it on. I basically just went like a little whisper of wind, like, here you go. But I had to feel it in my body first, you feel me? And that way it was an accurate empathic experience for you. And that's cool because that's how it would be in the room. Like, let's say, start with the heart chakra, right? You're in a room with someone and they're feeling tense. How do you know? Your chest tightens up. That's your body. Trust your body. You're able to be like, yo, what's bothering you right now? Like, you're able to ask that question because your body told you. You feel me? So throat chakra, how do you know someone has something to say but doesn't want to say that shit? Your throat will tighten up. Your throat will tighten up, but you'll be like, why is my throat tightening up? That has nothing to do with me. And then you look over and then you can observe this person's facial expressions, the way they're carrying themselves, their shiftiness, their eye gaze, and you're just like, yo, like, you got something to say right now? It was like, this ain't me. And, you know. Also, leave room for that being false, you know, but experiment with it and actually investigate so that you can cultivate confidence in these senses to the point where you know which ones are accurate. So when the accurate ones come up, you can act on it, you know? And then the second part to that, which is, of course, the shielding. So I'm really interested to know how y'all are doing with that. If it just beams right to your center, it's all good. Just, you know, just work on it with some partners or some shit, you know? If you got some friends, just pass it back and forth, or just feel things around each other and see if y'all can, like, observe it rather than taking it on, because empathic burnout is a fucking thing, bro. Empathic burnout is a thing. To be there for other people full time and what they're experiencing, especially if they're powerful beings, needs a very grounded and consistent routine of reminding oneself what our original feelings and experiences are. So that way we can always come back to the self. Even when someone near us is going through hell, we can always come back to ourself and know we're cool. It's not for us to go through, but we can be there for it. You know? Healthy boundaries. We always think of healthy boundaries as a verbal expression, like, I do not like it when you do this. Or a physical boundary, you cannot cross this line, this is my side of the car, or some bullshit like that, you know? This is a whole new concept of boundaries, which is energetically your emotions are so loud that my nervous system is trying to replicate them. So energetically, I'm going to take up my space right now. It's that simple. Okay. Another exercise that I really liked employing probably like 3 or 4 years ago for the first time was my gaze. I'm realizing that the softness or sharpness of one's eyesight and the gaze that we emit out, if you can go like, okay, sit back within yourself and soften the gaze, like you feel that like everything kind of calms and stills, and it's like you're sitting back within yourself. And then sharpen the gaze, intense the gaze, and like open the eyes and see the trees starting to blow around me. And I'm just like driving it through, and then relax again. The wind stops. Sharpen the gaze again. Drive forward. Feel me? So the whole point is, it seems like softening the gaze lets in more from the environment. Sharpening the gaze pushes out more and starts to fill up the outside environment with our inner world. And we can find a little happy medium, you know, like we can kind of go in between each one. It's even down to the facial features, what you're doing with your eyebrows, how tense your jaw is, if you're clenching your jaw, if you're relaxing your jaw, where your ears are, because your ears go back and forth depending on where your jaw is, you know, cheekbones, neck, is your spine aligned or not, all that type of shit contributes to this or this or this, right? Let me get that train of thought back. Let me sip some tea while I do that. Right. So I would go as far as to say that sharpening a gaze and putting out in the world, like according to human design anyway. I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm going to speak for myself because this is best observed in manifesting generators, in my opinion. But you can also look at it as the people who are one side. I'm a manifester or I'm a generator. Is going to be a natural imbalance, correct? Or manifesting generators that tilt to one side is going to be a natural imbalance. Projectors, y'all, I don't even know how this would apply. But let's just see what happens. Maybe it'll come through. So manifesting would be softer gaze, taking it in, right? Letting the environment fill you up. Generating would be piercing gaze, filling up the environment with your inner world, right? So a mani-gen would be so simple as taking in just enough, putting out just enough. Always trying to find that sweet spot, because naturally they're both happening at the exact same time. And it's this exchange. It's this very deep exchange. That's why unconditional love, gratitude, and forgiveness are our saving grace when it comes to that. When it comes to emotionality, the content of which, and the sharing of this experience. So let's say we're around like in nature. I don't really need a piercing gaze. I'm relaxed, softer gaze. Because I'm learning at that point. I'm with the teachers, I'm with the trees, I'm with the nature spirits. So there's no need for me to really bring anything except my receptivity. So I'll soften my gaze. I'll allow the environment to fill up my internal world at that moment, you know? Let's say I'm around someone who's trying to teach me something. if I'm asking for someone's experience, or I want to learn something about somebody, even in that realm, I'm going to soften my gaze, because I do not need to send out energy into this field. I don't need to interject my emotions. No, now is the time for me to listen and hold space, Now, if I am holding space for somebody or something, and trauma starts to come up, emotions start to come up, it gets intense, I start to really feel it, and it hits me somewhere and I feel the tension. As soon as I physically feel it, I know that it's time for me to generate a little bit more of a field. It does not mean that I stop my receptivity. This is interesting. We're not switching from openness. We're not switching from manifesting to generating. We're not switching. It's like a really gentle haze that is the softer gaze, and then the needle of the sharp gaze for generating goes through the center and pierces through it. And it's like a glowing blue beam, and you just like feel it thread through, and it starts to spread around the outside. If you can imagine that, that's what it feels like for me, because I'm not sacrificing my space. I still want to provide this comfortable space for this person or this environment or this memory or whatever it is, but I'm also interjecting this field of sort of protection around me, because I don't need to take on whatever the trauma is. It's not my trauma, right? Just enough, and it surrounds me, and it is now that barrier. And it's not so much a wall as it is just like a little bit thicker liquid, and it can't get to me, but I feel the vibrations. It's like feedback. It gives me feedback for the emotions in the room. Most definitely. I imagine that the more we start to pierce the veil like that, the more that more divine inner knowings will come through. Like I don't always know why I'm talking about these things. I don't always know why I'm feeling this from another person. I can always investigate, but the whole point is to keep our center. That's the ultimate thing. If we are truly here as empaths to help this reality sort through its shit, figure out its shit, what it means and what it's going to do with it, then one of our full-time jobs is to keep our center through that. Like that is, if that's the case, then that means that that's one of our full-time jobs is to keep our center, to make sure we're good, to make sure we're a G, to make sure that we're not being thrown off the top of the hill every single time we get up there. If we could become the mountain, then we never have to worry about being tossed off because we are the hill. You feel me? If every single time we try to hold space for somebody, we get knocked off our center, we don't have any more space for anyone other than ourselves, because we don't even have ourselves right in that moment. Does that make sense? We cannot hold space for someone else when we have to constantly come up with new ways. Like, because the other ways aren't working. Like, obviously these are all new ways and we're going to keep coming up with new ways. But if we fail to employ them correctly, and space holding for us looks really distraught and stressful and prolonged and not really getting anywhere, then that's defeating the purpose of being an empath. You know? Because empath is just an abbreviation for the emotional path. The path of the emotional body. Which is very much like this. It's not just a path, it's a roller coaster, you know? Because the emotions are volatile, they're crazy. So a meditative practice, consistent visualization, hooking into the belief system of our body, and being able to decide what comes in and what goes out and what doesn't move and what does keep moving and all that shit. It's key. It's absolutely key. Oh. So I talked about the gaze. Right. Muscle contractions, muscle relaxations. Right? So I talked about the throat chakra, and I said, I'm just going to use the throat chakra as an example. I don't know why. Remember I said it, like you feel it clench up. You feel it tighten up. And you know that somebody is, hiding something. They don't want to talk about it. They're shutting down. Maybe in their past experience they've been told to shut up a bunch of times, and now it's very obvious that they're in a safe space, but they still can't let themselves talk, So let's say you've already established your shield. Let's say you've already got that shit down, unlocked, all that stuff's good. You have the extra space, and you're safe, and everything is cool. So now let's talk about what we can do for this person. Very, very simple. If they're in a space of trying to find anybody who's expressing trauma, they need relief from their environment. They're going to start filling in their environment. This is why emotional conversations can get tense, is because if you're taking on their shit and you don't have the shields up, and then they try to look for relief from their environment, and all they get is your reflection of their shit, then it's not going to make it worse, and then they're going to feel like you're attacking them, and it's just not going to feel good. If we can get to a point of being so transparent and so clear that none of anybody's stuff can cling on to us, then we are going to be a form of relief for that person, or that thing, or whatever it is, right? So holding that frequency down, now we get to a point where the subtle things we do with our body can make it even easier for someone to feel relief from the environment. Let's say you have your throat chakra closed and you're expressing trauma. You're in a state of vulnerability. I am not taking on your trauma. I am not reflecting your trauma. Even though it's really difficult for me because I'm a reflector head and a reflector ajna. Let's say for a second that I'm not reflecting. And I feel the throat tighten, and I consciously relax my throat, and I open it, and I make more space, and I do all in my power to relax my throat, like all the way. And that's what you get, and you feel that happen. And suddenly it's easier for you to let go of your throat tension, and what needs to come out comes out. Let's say we're in a space with someone who's really tense, and they've been having an argument with their mom on the phone or some bullshit, and then you come in the room and you feel that tension in your heart, and you're like, oh shit, someone's heavy in here, So what if you have your shields up, and what if we make sure that we don't feel that so deep anymore, and we have a boundary, our heart, your heart. Okay, we're good. And now we relax the chest. Bring the shoulders down, open up the back, maybe even pop it. Ooh, do a little, get the back. Now open up the chest, maybe move around a little bit, and then just send love to the chart, send love to the heart, send love to the heart. Open it up. And then you'll notice the people in the room chill the fuck out. It's just the way it is. They will chill the absolute fuck out. Because you chilled out. Because, like I said, we're super organisms. We're omni-adaptable organisms. We are like water because we really do become the room. We really do fill up the room. We really do become the environment we're in. Shit. So we get to that point where what one person brings to the room you can also bring things to the room. There's a lot of people that feel like they are at the mercy of their environment. It's difficult for someone to comprehend, like, oh, I can influence my environment just as much as the environment's influencing me. So if we can bring, as empaths, our own awareness and control of that into an environment like that, if we can be the ones to acknowledge, I can impact this environment in a beneficial way, you know? Oh my God, I just got a flashback to my band Impact. That's crazy. All right, I'm not thinking about that right now. That was when I was in middle school. Fuck. All right. If we can send out that acknowledgement as empaths and ground that down, that we can impact our environment in a beneficial way, then that's going to change the game. And that's going to immediately impact in a beneficial way anyone in that environment that feels otherwise. And maybe you can explain that to them, maybe they won't pick it up, but, you know. If the person's just in a room and they're just like soaking up all the shit that they've been throwing into the corners of each wall, and they're just like, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this, fuck this, and they're getting themselves into this little, you know, people do this. They're getting themselves into a little cyclone of repetitive thoughts. And then you come in with your relaxed shit and you don't take on anybody's stuff, and you feel the room and you're like, oh, this could be a little bit less tense, so you do that inner work to fix that. It's going to be felt. It's going to make a difference. Straight up. So I have this visual in my head of water taking the shape of its container. You know, that's one aspect of water, filling up the room, becoming the room. There's another aspect to it, though, because we don't necessarily want to lose that ability to take up the room. That's a beautiful ability to really be like water. Here's the other thing, is when you add things to water. If you add a food coloring to water, and of course it's going to change color, right? But what if it kind of like defied its natural path, and we added the food coloring into the water, and the food coloring did not spread to fill up the entire cup, and it just maintained its, like, I don't even know how to explain that, because it's just not how physics works, or like, but the whole point is, like, water that stays water, nothing can get mixed into it, it stays clear. What if you watch that food coloring pass through it and then leave the water again, and the water stayed crystal clear? Like, that's really, really hard to visualize, because you're like, how would that be possible? But that's the kind of mind-blowing, like, mindfuck kind of shit that we have to be able to visualize to get through those kind of minefields of other people's emotions. Period. Because if we can't think of water as being capable of not being able to hold a new substance in it like it's meant to, you know, then how can we visualize, like, how would it be possible for us to walk through someone else's emotions and not be changed by them? It's a perfect mirror. If we have a hard time comprehending water maintaining its clarity, then we're going to have a hard time maintaining our clarity. That's why I love meditating on water. Yeah. Let me ask if there's anything else I should say. Oh. I think I've rambled for long enough. This is wonderful tea time. Thank you very much for being here. Let's all tap out. Thank you for tapping in with your crystals today. Now let's tap out with our crystals and close the space sacredly. Go back into our own fields, okay? Thank you very much for being here, taking the time to hear my words. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, reach out to me, message me, follow me on social media, email me, shoot, whatever. Yeah. I'm making a bunch of these. Stay tuned for these on the website, blissfulabundance369.com. I'm doing a lot more in-person stuff lately at farmers markets and flea markets, but I'm trying to get inventory back online again. It's just going so fast out here, but I appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Stay grounded, stay consistent, stay tuned in. Love y'all. Peace out.